My name is Gianni Delli Colli, and this is my story.
Hello, storytellers. Welcome back to another episode of Tales to Tell, a storyteller podcast focused on the stories that matters the most, your stories. Every episode, guests from all walks of life join us to share the journeys that define them, the people who impacted them, and anything else that is important to them. Some of the stories may put a smile on your face, while others could make you shed a tear or two. But above all, we hope that listening to these stories can positively impact you in any shape or form, even just a little. This episode, I have the pleasure of welcoming Gianni, my good friend. Can I call you a friend?
Of course.
Yes, okay. I was not sure.
Of course.
my good old buddy, Gianni, who I like to call one of my favorite ball of positive energy in this world.
Thank you. I feel welcome.
You feel welcome?
I feel welcome. Thank you for those kind words. I like feeling like a big positive ball of energy for people.
Really, thank you for coming because we've been trying to schedule this for a while.
Yeah.
You're a very busy man, so thank you for doing this.
I'm sorry, okay? I want
No.
to be more available. I can't do it.
but I think I told you on Instagram, I was like, you were not even part of my inaugural season plan, just because we were not talking, and then you just suddenly popped in my Instagram friend recommendation feed.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, it's Gianni.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then I was like, dude, you should totally come to our first. I'll open a spot for you. So that's why it fell a little bit last minute.
It's all good.
But yeah, we've been trying for a while, and you're a busy man. So quick intro on Gianni. Among the millions of things that you do, you're co-host of the award-winning radio show turned podcast, the Calcio Guys.
Yes.
Almost effed it up. Teacher.
Yes.
Real life Pokemon gym leader.
Yeah. For the Montreal Pokemon League, yes. I am the fairy type gym leader. Yes.
Yes. More of that later.
I mean, my actual birth name is Giovanni, so I'm like, there's no way I can't be involved in Pokemon and be a gym leader, right? So,
oh my god,
I just go by Gianni because it's a shorter form. But anyways, continue.
Okay, more on that later. I guess I'll let you start. What's your stories, Gianni?
Where do you want me to begin? Like how I just came to be, I guess.
How were you born?
Well, when a mommy loves a daddy. No, just kidding. So
teacher spirit.
Yeah,
he knows to do.
Well, basically, my mother is Italian Canadian, born here in Montreal to immigrants from Italy in the southern region near Naples and Abruzzo. And my father was born in Italy as a kid near Naples as well, in a town called Rocca de Vandro. But he moved to Canada with his family basically when he was like 4 years old, 4 years old. He was born in the 60s. So like during that time, still today, actually, the economy in Italy wasn't strong. It was especially poor in the South because it was post World War II. So a lot of European immigrants that come to Montreal, they basically came to, or even just immigrants in general, right? They come to North America looking for a better opportunity. And so then they met. And then I was born in 92 and then been existing, growing up in Montreal my whole life since the 90s. Very, very weird way of life of kind of Canadian around me, but my home life is very Italian. So it's and it was weird because I only really got more exposed to the Canadian side of things when I turned 16, 17 when I went to CEGEP and stuff, because more often than not, my elementary school, majority of us were just basically either first or second generation children of immigrants, majority Italian, and there was some Greek, there was some Portuguese. Even high school was the same type of experience. I went to Vincent Massey, and there's a lot of East End of Italians that usually go to Vincent Massey and stuff. And when I went to Vanier, that's when I started seeing different walks of life and stuff, and started expanding a bit of my worldview and stuff, and basically saw my lifestyle isn't this typical Canadian lifestyle and stuff. So it's fun because I always love to compare both, and people always say, so what do you see yourself, Canadian or Italian? I'm like, Italian Canadian. It's weird. It's a mix of both.
That's very interesting because your mom was born here.
Yes.
So and your dad came here at 4. So yeah. I thought they would be more Canadian than Italian. For their generation, maybe we for
Yeah.
generation, so their parents would they have just have
Oh, yeah, of course.
the close Italian heritage. But for you, you're still if like you said, you until about CJ, you were very much more Italian than Canadian.
Yeah, like
So-
it's just I think it has to do with the people you surround yourself with, and you know, like what your social circles are and whatnot. For my mom's case, you know, like so growing up, like we lived in a duplex in Saint Michel, and basically, represent a 67. Basically, we did the stereotypical thing where it's like the grandparents live in the middle in the basement floor type of thing, and we lived upstairs in the 5.5. And growing up, I basically I got a chance to see like my mother's parents, so my grandparents on my mom's side, every day essentially. I still do. My grandfather still lives with us and stuff. So at home, my mom and her at the time her parents, now it's just my grandfather. They just argue in Italian, specifically Napoletan, which is the dialect of where they're from. I lost a bit of that dialect. I'm trying to recatch it, but at least I still didn't lose my Italian. But yeah, like it was just like, so they would discuss and talk and things in Italian. I would speak to him in Italian and stuff. So that's why the culture kind of still persevered. My father was still like, you know, he grew up in Montreal. I still had a lot of that like ethnicity to him and stuff. And my family on my father's side is very much like that, where it's like we have relatives that moved here from Italy later on than my father did, and they either speak Italian or French. So it's like we're forced to speak Italian. They understand English, but I mean, that's why. So like Italian is still very prevalent in our families, in our family gatherings. Whenever we're socializing with people, it helps because that's like, I guess that's how the culture is like preserved in a way. It's because you're forced to use language, you're forced to interact with people that are still born there, so you still have that connection to it and stuff, which is not, I actually personally like it. I don't want to be one of those like stereotypical North American Italians that just well, me I'm Italian, and then, you know, they just lose it, you know. They don't know, they don't speak the language, they don't keep the traditions alive, you know. They don't do the little, I'm not saying every tradition needs to be kept, but you know, it's nice to keep some of these things, you know. It makes your culture who you are, you know. You're part of your culture in a way, so why hate it? Celebrate it. That's the way I see it.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's basically what I guess I can describe it to answer that question.
Okay. Like you said, now when you went to Vanier, then you
Yeah.
start to spread more of your. No, you start to absorb more of the Canadian multicultural culture.
Yeah.
And then, what were you studying? What was your passion?
So I originally, before I started at Vanier, I took physics, chem, bio in Sec 5 because I wanted to go into health sciences. I wanted to be either a general practitioner or a pediatrician, something like that. And
and where did that come from?
I love the health field very much. I kind of like spent a good 2 years of my life in a hospital because my dad developed lupus when he was younger and stuff. And it's pretty much like 2 years of our lives were just spent going to the hospital to do for his dialysis treatments and stuff. And then so I got interested in the health field from there and stuff, and because I was surrounded by it all the time, and I wanted to do it. And physics and chem was fine with me. But bio didn't go so well, which is the most important thing if you're going to go into health sciences. And I realized it's because I was always strong in mathematics. I was always doing stuff that was like a year ahead. Like when I was in elementary school, my mom would buy like these, like during the summers, would buy like the workbooks or like these like practice books of like from like Indigo or from chapters that had like the material that you're going to learn next year. So let's say if I was in grade 3, she bought me a grade 4 workbook. If I was in grade 4, she would buy me a grade 5, so on and so forth. And it just helped. She really helped nurture my academic development in a way by doing stuff like that. And I liked it. I was one of those weird kids like, oh, this is fun. You know, like I found it cool. I always liked being better, not in a way of like, oh, look at me, I'm superior, but I like bettering myself. That's probably a better way of saying it. A superior way of saying it. No, I'm kidding. So because of that, because of the mathematical side of things for physics and chem, like it just came more natural to me. And so then from there, I'm like, well, I guess health sciences won't be the way to go. So at Vanier, I pursued social sciences with 3 maths because I'm like, I'm going to go with my backup plan, which is not what I'm doing today, to become a math teacher. So from there, from Vanier, I studied social with 3 maths and then went to university. I went to Concordia, got in originally through mathematics. But after like year 3, I hit a wall. Like it was like I couldn't do it anymore. Like it was just too difficult for me. Like it was just beyond calculus 3, everything else was just a blur. Theoretical mathematics and stuff and doing proofs, that was my bane of my existence. Like the bane of my existence was proofs. I'm like, I can't do this. I tried and I'm like, it's just, I don't need all this to teach math. Like I understand like you need to have a deep understanding of mathematics because sometimes kids will throw you the most wild and out of nowhere questions, but I'm just there like, this is way too much. So in university I swapped from mathematics to English literature, graduated in English literature with a minor in education. Worked in schools for a few years. Then when the pandemic hit, I was like at schools, I was like working as like a tutor, like an after school tutor, or like I guess one elementary school I was doing like an anti-bullying program and stuff, which was cool, which was really awesome. From there, I like when the pandemic hit, I'm like, oh, this is a chance for me to like, you know what, let me actually go for that brevet. Like let me actually get like my teaching certificate, because like I was able to work in schools but not have a classroom. I tried doing it at Université Laval, but the problem was it's like doing your whole life in English and then trying to do university level French was not the way to go about it.
Right. I didn't think about this.
Yeah. It's like it's hard to do the switch up. I'm like, I could speak French. I understand French. Let me try it. And then when it comes to like I understood the material in the classroom. I understood what I was reading, but when you have to explain your answers on a university paper, especially like places like Université Laval, they have a full right to do this, right? Like all the French universities have a full right to do this, but they had it was like a 10% or like a 15% penalty on just your usage of the French language. If your French language was not academically up to par, they have the right to remove up to 10 to 15% of your mark. So imagine starting every paper or every test with like your highest mark is going to be a 90 or an 85 because my French is second language or third language level. Do you know what I mean? So, so that was a struggle for a few years. And I just like, there was a point where my marks were like going really low and I'm like, this is not me. I'm not this representation of my notes. Like I'm not a D student. I'm not a C student. Like I'm not that. So, went to CSDM was looking for a lot of people. Like this was back in 2022. They're looking for a lot of substitutes or, you know, contract teachers because they need to fill bodies in the classroom because the pandemic made them had a massive teacher shortage. And
do we know why?
I think a lot of them were just like fed up with the distance learning and stuff. A lot of teachers took an early retirement from that, from what I understood. They're like, you know what, this is not for me, because they felt like this is what teaching would become. It's not, but they were just like, you know what, I'll just take an early retirement. I don't care. And then it's also like the conditions of teaching back in the classroom haven't been well post pandemic. There's been a few years so far I'll explain why in a second. I see your face. So kids for past, prior to like 2022, right? So for 2 years, a year and a half, let's say, the learning that they're doing is through a computer screen, right? Mm-hmm. They're not focusing. I have had many testimonies given to me by students, and also like, look, hey, like I'm very childlike in spirit and in general, like I understand completely. And I even did it when I was in university a couple of times where it's like, you have your course going on one screen, but on your second screen, you're playing a game or something, or you're watching a show or whatever it may be. So the kids like sometimes were just like, they didn't have to turn on their cameras. So they would just have to like, they mute their microphones, they turn off their cameras. If the teacher calls upon them, they'll be like here or something, or they'll answer a question. But more often than not, they're just playing games on the side, unless their parents were home watching them. Because I had one student say like, I couldn't do that because like my parents were they were working from home and the computer that I was using was in the same room as they were. So I had to, pay attention. But majority of them, like they weren't focusing. They weren't paying attention. They were looking through a screen. And don't get me wrong, like I use my phone a lot and stuff, but and I'm seeing the effects of it, but
for a kid with low attention span,
it ruined it, right? Like I know how much damage it's done to me. Imagine to this is like during an era where like they're probably in like late elementary school, starting high school. So like a lot of these students, like they didn't have that start of high school experience. I don't know how to explain it. Like it's like a boot camp type of feel when you're like your first year, like in Sec 1 or whatever, or like grade 7 for some students, where it's like your first year of high school is like a boot camp of some sort. Like you have to like learn how to cut out your elementary school way of living or culture or whatever, and kind of adapt to what the high school environment is. Because so a lot of the things that they teach us and teachers so right now, I'm at University of Ottawa finishing up I'm done in spring to finally get my license to be a permanent teacher. But what they teach us at the university is that each school has a culture. Each school has like a spirit to it, right? And you can't really change that culture or spirit. And you see it if you walk from one school to the next. Like one school is going to be this way and one school is going to be that way. Like, for example, my high school experience, right? Vincent Massey was a very, I don't want to say competitive school, but you had to take it's a semi-private school. Like it's still part of the English Montreal School Board, but you would have to take an entrance exam to get in. And the culture of that school is that, let's say, for example, you got a 60 on a test or something. Everyone's like, you got a 60? Like they look at you like, they give you like this like weird look like, buddy, how did you get a 60 on this? You know? And you don't want to be one of those students that you feel like I'm an idiot, right? Versus like I had friends of mine that like, you know, went to other schools and stuff. And for them, it's like, oh, you failed a test. Hey, me too. You know, who cares? You know, like majority of the class would fail and they wouldn't care. They wouldn't care. So that's what I mean by culture, for example. Like you surround yourself and the thing is, it's really hard to break that. Even as an academic, like as a teacher, you know, like you obviously your goal is to get the kids to you know, to succeed. But there's times where it's like, you can bring the horse to the water, but if the horse doesn't want to drink, what are you going to do? So that's what I mean. So like I've noticed that the whole pandemic created this whole culture of you know, just give me the information now. Like I don't care. Like I'm not paying attention. Kids in class would be like zoning out after like 5 seconds, to the point where it's, let's say for example, I'm teaching them like, so one of my stages I had to teach in Ontario. They have now they're Sec 3, so grade 9. Their math is called D-streamed now, meaning that
so what? Sorry,
D-streamed.
D-stream.
Yeah. So the concept is, imagine like when you were in high school, there was like the advanced students and like, let's say the average students or whatever. Like they would separate them, right? Like you would have the kids doing advanced math in one class and the ones doing the standard in another class, right?
Is it in French like enrichi?
Enrichi, right? Okay. Yeah, exactly. You have enrichi and then you have regular, right? Mm-hmm. But so in Ontario, they removed that. Everybody's together in the same group. So the students that are really smart, they're bored in class because the concepts that you're teaching them are not challenging them. The students that are struggling, the moment you introduce just one little thing that they don't understand, they check out right away. So I had to show them how, like, for example, I had to show them you have to add these two fractions. The moment I put a fraction on the board, some students are like, no. And they just looked away or just start doodling on their paper. And it's hard because it's like you only notice these things, let's say when you walk around the classroom or when you give an assessment or you do a quiz, and then you realize, I'm like, well, there's like 10 students here that are like that they're having a hard time just adding fractions. And you know, like obviously I feel bad because I'm trying to make them, you know, I try to simplify it, I try to explain, I try to show them like, oh, you know, like I have to, but now it's like I'm wasting 20-30 minutes of a lesson demonstrating a concept from what they had to learn in grade 3 or grade 4, and I'm wasting 20-30 minutes, or grade 5, wherever it is in the curriculum. I don't know the elementary school curriculum that well. I know the high school one, but I'm wasting 20-30 minutes of that time just teaching that. And I'm like, but I have other concepts that I need to show them, right, by the end of the year. So on, like it just adds more. Obviously, you know, as a teacher, you're supposed to plan for these buffers, right? Because there's going to be times where these questions come out of nowhere. What if there's a fire drill? So you have to plan for these unexpected things. But I'm just there in my head, like the pandemic really did not do a lot of these kids favors. There's gonna be a generation like a 3-4 year gap of students where they're not academically strong, not because they're not academically strong people inherently. It's just they had a very poor experience from this whole pandemic that taught them very poor habits, very unhelpful habits, you know, and caused a lot of what's the best word I can put it? I don't want to say learning deficiencies. I guess, you know, like they need a lot of assistance with learning, which, you know, that's what we're here. But that's why there's an overwhelming thing. And now I'm landing the plane, right? And that's why it's like it's very hard to explain. Why is there such a teacher shortage? I don't get it. Teachers have this, teachers have that. It's like, well, there's a lot more going on in the classrooms than just, oh, you know, we have winters off, we have summers off. Like, no, you have 20-30 kids in your classroom, right? So and you have 4 or 5 groups, that's 150 students that you have to take care of, that you have to track individually to make sure that they're all on track, to see what's their issues with their learning, what's hindering their learning, and then finding a solution for that hindrance. And if you're in a very well-off school, right, you might have maybe 10 out of those 150 students that are having issues, and it's easier to focus on those, and you have the support around you because there are support staff, power to them, like the EAs, the educational assistants, or that's the Ontario term. The Quebec term, I can't recall right now, but they know what these plans are, and sometimes they'll meet with the students individually to help expand their learning, which is fantastic. But if you're at like a regular public school, you're one out of like your 150 kids, 90 of them are gonna have these development plans, and it's like it's so much to manage when you're a teacher and stuff. And there's times where it's like in a classroom, like kids are just running rampant. You try to, and that's the whole other discipline side of things. You try to tell kids like, okay, can you sit down? Like, we need to get this work done or whatever. Or they're talking to their friends, or they're making jokes or whatever. And to the point where, even though you try your best to discipline them, they had 2-3 years of like no discipline or no freedom, that they just didn't learn the behavioral, like the behaviors of how you're supposed to be in a classroom at this age. They didn't mature. I think it's a better way of saying it. It's not their fault in a way, but it's frustrating because like you're trying your best to like get something done, and there's times where it's like, okay, well, there's some classrooms or some schools with a culture where they're not reprimanded for that, so you're spending another 20-30 minutes of your 10 to 20 minutes of your time in your classroom disciplining or trying to get people to calm down or listen or pay attention. So with all those factors going in there, why is there such a teacher shortage? Well, there you go. There's like I can go on and on. We can spend the whole podcast about this, but I really don't want to do that. I don't want this to be Gianni's my big positive ball of energy, and it's like, yeah, let me tell you the world about teaching. I'm kidding. But I still love it. At the end of the day, I still love it because when you get the right group or you get the right topic or the right interaction with a student, it's so rewarding. Like, the school environment is so fun. It's so wonderful seeing like these young minds like develop and start to learn what the world is about, and start to learn like, okay, what do I want to do? What do I enjoy? Like, helping them like explore their passions or their hobbies and stuff, or kind of open them up to like newer experiences. Like, some people might think that like they did develop like a linear view because of what they read on the internet or what they see on TV, and it's like, well, no, actually, let me expand your view, like your worldview and stuff. And it's sometimes you see those aha moments, and those are just like the most beautiful moments you can see. And you make connections with students, which is fun, because besides their parents, the number one adult in their lives is the teacher, and you have a very big responsibility as a teacher to be that proper figure, adult figure for them. You have your besides their parents, you're seeing these kids for 8 hours a day, 7 hours a day. Like, depends on how big the school day is and how much you have them for. But you're seeing these kids for a lot of time, so they look up to you in different ways. Not as much as how they look up to their parents, but they come to you with things sometimes that they're afraid to go ask their parents, and vice versa. It's very important that like you take your job seriously when you're a teacher. But that's what I love about it so much, is because you have the opportunity to put a lot of people on the right paths. And I've seen a lot of people go on the wrong, like we grew up in the hood, man. So we know like what happens when people don't get proper attention. So it's nice to be like a person who is trying to make the world better in an indirect way by helping shape the future and stuff. That's why there is a very good side to teaching. I need to clarify. There's a very good side to teaching.
I didn't ask you earlier, but would that be one of the main reasons why you want to be a teacher?
Yeah, that's like one of the main reasons why. It's a fun job. It is a fun job when you actually like teach subjects that you enjoy, and the kids are like actually listening and paying attention.
But before even taking classes to be a teacher,
yeah,
like, what was your thinking? Like, why did you want to be a teacher?
So,
as a second choice.
So in high school, I tutored a lot of my friends in math because they were struggling with it, and I realized like secondary 4 or like grade 10 math is a very big like breaking point for a lot of people. Because I've tutored since high school over the years, and I noticed that that's the grade level that kids struggle with the most.
Do we know why?
I really wish I had a proper answer for that. I think it's because you're starting to expand. So like this is just a personal theory. I don't think this is correct in any way. A personal theory of mine, it's because you're starting to expand your thinking of a functions into curves now. It's no everything's no longer straight lines. Now there's curves being added. Now there's more precision to your mathematics, like factoring, whatnot. There's more specifications. There's more concepts that you're gonna have to learn. There's more reasoning to it. This is when things start to get a bit more specific. You start to learn about the different parameters that manipulate a function. You're no longer working with y equals ax plus b, and you're working with a linear function. No, now you have now you have absolute value functions. You have square root functions. You have quadratics. You have all these things. And then when you add trig into it, oof. The year afterwards with trig, forget about it. You lose a lot of students with that. It's hard. Even myself as a teacher, trying to teach it, trying to find a way to simply explain it or find a way where they can catch on. It's like scaffold them to catch on is tough. It's very tough, but there's ways. Eventually, you find some success somehow. But it's like throwing things against the wall. Hopefully, something sticks. But yeah, but I've noticed that Sec 4 was the age group that when you start to introduce these concepts, that's when they struggle the most. It's also like the time in their lives where I feel like some people organically lose interest in school because they feel like their future is not in school. So which is fine. Like, how some people, like CJEF University.
I was gonna say, which is weird because that's also the grade where you have to start thinking of where you want to go.
Yes.
Well, in Quebec, you have to think where you have to go in CJEF.
Exactly, and you're completely correct. But there's some students that are like, you know what, like I don't like. They're like that's when they learn like I hate school, or they realize that they're not people that enjoy sitting in a classroom or the structure of a school or the way academics are. They feel like they're better with their hands. They're better with trades or skills, and which is fantastic. We always need skilled work people. Like always. And that's fine. That's A-okay. So for them, it's like, that's when they start to slowly like mentally check out. They're just like, I just want to get through this. I don't care. I just want to get through it so I can just graduate and then just go work and go start my life learning how to be an electrician or a mechanic or a plumber or something like that, which is A-okay. But that's when that age starts to happen, and that's why a lot of them are like they don't have that motivation to like, okay, like I'm having trouble here. I don't care, whatever. I mean, I just need to pass the test or whatever. That's why that's an age there too, where it's like, okay, well, you kind of have to help push them a bit too. And so when I was around that age and stuff, I tutored a lot of my friends in that math level, and I realized that that's when I started liking, like when I was tutoring them and helping them out and helping them, like obviously it's because like you're helping your friends out. So it's nice to help out your friends. Everybody wants to help out their friends, but I'm like, oh, I like this feeling of helping people succeed. So like, you know what, maybe if like when I hit Sec 5 and when I hit that wall with biology, when I realized I'm like, oof, this is not what I meant to do, even though as much as I have, like, let's say enjoy it or whatever, like it's just something I'm not good at. I'm like, you know what, I always enjoyed tutoring and teaching. And I'm like, you know what, I was looking at my teacher one day just teaching a class. I'm like, yeah, I could totally see myself doing that. And around that time, I was like watching TV shows like Welcome Back, Kotter. It's a very old TV show from the 70s. It's because I had Illico on Videotron. Like, Illico had it wasn't TV Land. TV Land was on DirecTV when I had DirecTV. It was like a pink logo and everything. Deja Vu. It was a TV channel called Deja Vu. They played old TV shows. And Welcome Back, Kotter. Originally, what attracted me to it was that was like the first show of John Travolta. That was John Travolta's first ever start on TV before he made Saturday Night Fever. And he obviously plays basically himself like a Brooklyn Italian dummy. But no disrespect to John Travolta if you ever hear this. But the whole concept of the show is that this guy, Mr. Cotter, he is a teacher. It's been a while since I watched the show, but he's a teacher for an adult education classroom, like a night course type of thing. He's got 4 or 5 students, and they're just all comedic geniuses. Like all the jokes that they bounce off each other, because he was a stand-up comedian prior to the show, and the jokes that they bounce off each other was hilarious and stuff. And I'm like, oh, this is fun, just to have that kind of banter and stuff. And then there was another movie called School of Life, not School of Rock, School of Life, which actually had Ryan Reynolds in it.
Oh.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds. That was one of my first. It's funny, before Harold and Kumar, like that was one of my first experiences with Ryan Reynolds, and he played this teacher named Mr. D'Angelo, who was a history teacher, and the way he taught history was very unorthodox compared to what the other teachers are doing, and it looked so cool. looked cool in a way of like teaching. Obviously, there's certain subjects you can do that with, and there's some subjects you can't do that. But it was just like you made like I'm like oh my like they just like I enjoyed that movie so much too, and I'm like and then that, with all that compounding with like my observations in schools and stuff and the way I tutor, I'm like, you know what, I actually enjoy this. So, and then over the years, like I constantly got like reassurance randomly from here or there from people like, yeah, I see you as a teacher. Or, yeah, you have a good teacher voice. Or yeah, you know, like
you remember what I said?
Yeah, a bit. Yeah, but you said yeah, you seem like I feel like as if you said like, yeah, you sound like a teacher or something like that.
Yeah. I kind of said that, and then you're like, yeah, I'm kind of thinking that to me. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
kind of studying this right now. I'm going to Ottawa.
Yeah.
I'm like, then I think I outright told you, yo, if you were one of my teachers, like you'd be one of my favorite teachers.
Yeah, exactly.
Ever.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and now it's constantly stuff like that that's reassuring me and saying like, yeah, this is what I meant to do and stuff. And when I see the way that some students are like succeeding and stuff, and they're asking me questions and stuff, and I enjoy it, I'm like, yeah, this is definitely what I meant to do. So teaching.
Is there a specific age group that you're aiming for or that you prefer?
Yeah. I prefer high school. I prefer high school in general because, like, don't get me wrong, like I love teaching children. I enjoy.
Well, high school people are still children.
Yes, but 100%. But I'm somebody who suffers of migraines very easily. Just genetics. My grandmother suffered of migraines. My mother, so my mother's mother suffered of migraines. My mom suffers of vertigo, and I just got migraines from my grandmother. And like even when I was a kid growing up, like I started developing them when I was like 4 or 5 years old. And my mom brought us to the pediatrician and stuff, and she's like, I don't know what's going on. Oh, let's limit his sugar intake. That didn't work. Oh, let's limit his reading time and his video game time. Maybe he's hyper focusing. Didn't work. Let's try making him do this or do that. Didn't work. I would still develop migraines maybe once every week or so. And then when my doctor did a bit more of a look into it, she's like, it's just genetics. Like your mother has it, you have it, and now your son has it. So essentially, that's what I believe what happened. It was just like, yeah, and I kind of agree because I haven't found a solution yet as to why I get migraines. Obviously, I know when I expect them coming. Like if I'm too stressed out, like now I've noticed like what can trigger them sometimes. Either it's too much stress, lack of sleep. Like if I'm not taking care of myself, my brain becomes more prone to it. So because it's just gonna come out of nowhere. And then there's days where it's like I could just pop 2 Advils, drink some water, and I'll be fine. And then there's days where it's like, no, I need to pop Advils, get myself in a dark room, no lights, no sound, no mental stimulations. Like I need it to be like a cool room, and I like cool as in cold type of thing, and I just sleep. Like I need to nap it off. Like there's sometimes where it's like it's so debilitating that I need to like sleep it off. Like I can't function with the migraine.
How long does it last?
I'm very lucky that sometimes the migraine just like lasts for about a day. So like or like when I take that nap, like until that nap is done, it still kind of like lingers a bit, then eventually goes away. But there's times where it's like it's been rare in my life, but maybe it happened twice in my life where I had a migraine last more than a day. It'd probably be like 2 days or something like that, but it's rare. More often,
but you're done for the day. You're not teaching that.
There's some days where it's like there was like once where I had to tell like during like the lunch period, I had to tell my principal like I can't. You have to call on a sub because like I'm trying to get through this and I can't. And it's tough, but it's I think it's only happened a couple of times. I feel like when I'm teaching, like my body is just like going to bed early enough that I get enough rest, and that I really like take my whatever free periods I have to like not focus on my work and stuff and just enjoy my time. That kind of helps keep it away. But yeah, no, there are times where it's like, oh, like during the lunch period, if there's like an hour or something, like I rush home, pop an Advil, and just like just maybe take a power nap of 15-20 minutes and then just drive back to the school or something. Sometimes that helps. It was really rare. There was like times where it's like, no, I can't do this. Like I can't. There's just days where it's like, if I feel it, like I feel it early. Let's say if I feel it early in the morning where it's like, oh, this is gonna be one of those days type of thing. I always call early enough or leave an email like, hey, I'm not coming in today. Please find a substitute or something, because I know what's going to happen. And it's like, I'd rather not risk it, where it's like, I don't want to be in front of a classroom trying to teach and I'm constantly rubbing my temple, like trying to, and like, I can't even focus or think properly because I'm just trying to fight with a pain in my brain. So, well, that sounds like a good metal band. Pain in my brain. Burn in my brain. No kidding. Yeah. So that's essentially that. So Yeah, migraines aren't fun, especially when you have to teach. But how do we get onto this topic? I'm just confused about.
We were talking about why you.
Oh, so yeah, so high, yeah. So with kids, obviously in a noisy environment, trying to keep track of everything, running around the chaos of it. Like I could function in chaos, but I think I feel like that kind of environment would trigger it too much. So high school, like yes, there are still kids in a way, but there's some like they still, I guess, are more calmer in a classroom, or they kind of have better.
You're
behavior.
not really babysitting.
I'm not really babysitting. That's probably the best way to say it. And I say that all the time. I feel bad for saying it, but I feel it. I say it all the time. Like I'm not a glorified babysitter at this point. So no disrespect to elementary school teachers. Please don't hate me on that. It doesn't feel like babysitting. It feels like I'm actually teaching. So it's a better environment for me. I love when you're introducing a concept and kids have that mental capacity to like, talk back, not in a disrespectful way, but like, yeah, or question it, like, but sir, why is it this way? Or, but sir, what about this concept? Or what about that? And you get to have that open discussion with them. And you get that a lot, like with high school kids. Like I've seen it a couple of times with elementary school kids, but it was very rare. And it was only like with grade 6s, let's say, or maybe like one grade 5. Like besides that, like you're really having a lot of those type of discussions with high school students. So I enjoyed those type of discussions and stuff. So that's why, like in my head, I'm like, I would rather high school. I feel like my personality also meshes better with high school students versus elementary school students. Even though like there's a big demand for male teachers in elementary schools because just to have like another male figure in their lives besides their father, and some students don't even have that father figure in their lives. So like they need to have some kind of male, not authority figure, but like a male role model early on. That's why they're always looking for male teachers in elementary schools and stuff. Like it was weird. I remember,
but it's true. Think about it, like elementary, like my elementary school. Like I think it was all women.
Yeah,
all women teachers.
Well, in our neighborhood over there, St. Dorothy, that was my elementary school, St. Dorothy. Like 90% of the teachers there were women. I had maybe like 10% that were men, and maybe one of them was a teacher. The rest were just like one was a daycare coordinator, another one was the school's like priest or something, or like the other one was the after school activity coordinator, stuff like that. It was like we still call them sir or mister or whatever because they're obviously for respect, but they weren't really like teachers in the classroom. But they were still figures in the school itself. Like students like knew who they were. And, used to act like they were involved in like the activities or whatever. So like they're still present, which is very important. It's very important to be to have a male figure that's present for these young kids. So, but yeah, there's always like, that's why. So it's always a big thing to have. And
well, another question, since we were talking
go ahead.
about gender, like another thing I'm curious about, like,
yeah,
there's a lot of math teachers that are men. Do you know why?
I really don't know because some of the best mathematical people I've ever met in my life were women. I
like as teachers,
as colleagues of mine, just experiences in life were women, and like one of my colleagues in this university program that I'm doing right now. Like she's phenomenal. Like she's very organized. She's got all the lessons and everything, of every curriculum of every like grade level in Ontario prepped. She has lesson notes. She has tests, quizzes, all organized and whatever. I'm a mess in terms of organizational skills, but she's like all prepped and stuff. And like she's just great. And then and in university when I took my teaching methods course for mathematics, so like the best way to teach math itself. One of the best teachers was a woman. Miss Allardyce, she was amazing. Like Professor Allardyce, sorry, she was amazing. She taught like fun ways to teach grade 7 to 9, like so Sec 1 to 3. And I just in my life, like my math teachers were majority of the time women, and they were always great at it, which is interesting because so just to give a quick rundown, in this program that I'm at in Ottawa, right? It's the teaching program in Ottawa. For high school level, we're about 150, 200 students.
Okay.
Just like primary focus math teachers were only 8. We're only 8 out of those 200, and out of those 8, only one's a woman. 7 of us are male. It's just, I guess, it's just the majority of women probably don't have an interest in teaching math, but
Oh yeah, I don't think this is. I don't think I ever questioned the.
I think it's just
competency.
I think it's an interesting.
Yeah,
I think it's just an interesting.
But that's why I was curious. Like, why am I more interested in teaching math? And like,
I think it's just an interesting. I just don't know because then if I look at the those that have math as their secondary, so like the degree that I'm doing is for intermediate seniors. So basically like secondary 3 to 5, or in Ontario it would be up to like grade 12. So secondary 6, I guess, which would be CJEP for us. And I'm learning how to teach those levels, but I could teach 7, 8. So it's like 1s and 2s. So you have to have a primary teaching subject and a secondary teaching subject. My primary is mathematics. My secondary is English. So, because my English lit degree. So from there, that's why like there are others that have them in their secondaries, but they're limited to what grades they can teach. So, and there's maybe like another 2 or 3 out of like 14, 15. So I think it's just an interest thing, because it's definitely not a competency thing. I know you weren't implying that. But I just wanted to clarify. I think it's just pure interest, because it's just, I can't explain it. Like, just some of the best teachers I've ever seen for math were women. It's just some women just don't like teaching it. Like, majority of the time, they just don't like learning it, so they don't want to teach it. Mm-hmm. And I think it comes down to that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I could do the opposite. Like, chemistry is always a woman. Like for the ones that
I had majority. Well, besides chem, like 1 year, I had majority male teachers for science as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Physics were male, but chemistry were women on my side.
Hold on. So, in high school, majority of the years were male, besides maybe 2 years where I had a female teacher for sciences, and then when I hit Sec 5 doing physics, chem, bio, they were all female. Like, because when it got more specific, they were all female. But yeah, no, the sciences has a lot, because even in my university, majority of the women all around me, most of their teachables are biology, chemistry, physics, phys ed, health sciences, stuff like that. You know, it's you're right. Like, it does. There's more of an interest for that, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if any listeners know why, please let us know. I'm actually curious about
that. My personal theory is just an interest thing. I think it's just an interest thing.
Okay. All right. Going back to you teaching.
Yes.
What would you say is your teaching style?
My teaching style is very much like, I like to leave breadcrumbs. I don't want to give the answer. I like to leave breadcrumbs so that they can get to the answer. I'm not going to, like really give you or hand feed you the answer. I want you to work for it. But if I see that you're veering completely off the path, then I'll do some stuff to kind of like put you back on the path, So it's like, like in video games has invisible walls. Like video games have invisible walls. I'll be the invisible wall. Like, I'll let you explore in between those boundaries, and I'll let you eventually find your way to the goal. But if you're about to veer way too off, I'll be the invisible wall stopping you, or like the clock saying, no, turn around. Or it's like 5 seconds before, like, monster comes out of the water, like Jack and Daxter, where the fish will come out of the water and then spit you out back into where you're supposed to be. Stuff like that. Like, I'm the fish. I'm the one, the invisible wall. Like, I'll let you explore everything in between. I'll let you get to the answer yourself, because that's the only way learning happens, in my opinion. I'm not going to hand feed you the answer. And I feel like a lot of the teaching styles nowadays is really like hand feeding students. I feel like that doesn't do them any favors. But I do understand that you have to do that now for a short period, because of the issue that I brought up with the whole pandemic and whatnot, where it's like a lot of these students just want the information right away, and they're not capable of doing that exploration. So for now, it's like, okay, sometimes you have to hand feed them the answers, but it's not doing them any favors. But they're not capable of doing that exploration, and you're not doing them any favors, and you're making their lives miserable, and they're not going to be learning anything at all. So you have to hand feed them. So, but more often than not, with the newer generation that hasn't had that experience, like with the learning in the pandemic, because they were probably like little kids when it happened, like those ones that could still have like so why do you think this is the answer? Like, how did I get here? And I'll have a student try to explain, and then I'll like reinforce that student. It's like, oh yeah, did everybody hear what, I'll just say John, like, did everybody hear what John said? Exactly. So what John said is that, and you always like reinforce what they said, or you kind of like reaffirm them, just to help develop their confidence, especially for the students that, like, you could feel like some of the students are not confident in giving answers, or they're very shy. And sometimes doing that kind of stuff kind of not just helps them with their confidence in the classroom, but also socially. Because then socially, like, you know, like people might be like, oh, you know, John doesn't talk much, but, you know, he's a pretty smart guy with math. You know, like maybe we should start like asking him questions about math. And then next thing you know, you just created a social link between them and stuff. It's like persona. Okay.
We're going really deep, people.
Yeah. Hey, look, I'm a nerd. Okay. I started playing Persona 4, fell in love with the game.
Hey, it's school theme. I just thought about school theme.
Yeah, no, but just no. It's not even that. It's not only that. It's just like the way I love JRPGs, and I'm a big sucker for slice of life type of stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I love the whole like JoJo Part 4 is one of my favorite. Like visually is one of my favorite parts of the JoJo anime series, and it's just basically, you know, like the murderer walking around in Morio. So it's kind of the same concept where it's like there's a murderer walking around in their small town, and so it's kind of like cool because it's like it's my friend just summarized it perfectly. He's like Scooby Doo, but it's Scooby Doo but Japanese style. I'm like, you know what? It is Scooby Doo. They're teenagers. They have a bear they have a talking bear instead of a talking dog, and they have to solve a mystery. Except the mystery is a murderer instead of just a guy just causing problems.
Okay, I can see. Okay.
Yeah, shout out to my buddy Nathan if he ever hears this.
Is Persona 4 your first Persona game?
It's my first ever Persona game. I remember messaging you about this.
Yeah. How far are you in?
Right now, I discovered, like, I always knew it from, I guess spoilers, but it's a 2008 game. But like, we finally discovered, and I was right from the beginning, who the actual murderer is.
Okay, you're pretty far in. Okay,
yeah.
We don't have to talk about it.
Yeah.
I was just want to ask you, like, because what fascinated me with Persona, well, because my first game was the third one, which was the one that
I have Reload on my Steam wish list. I have to
play it. But the original one that came out early 2000s, I think.
Yeah.
I remember when I was playing that, I was so fascinated by it because we followed the Japanese school system. And what I didn't know back then was, Japanese have to go to school 6 days a week. Because for people that don't know Persona, you basically play as a teenage kid that transferred to a new school. And then you actually have to go to school every day and
learn.
And sometimes teacher will like throw your curveball. Like, okay, here's a question. You have to answer them correctly, and then you actually have to do exams too. So so you have to listen.
Yeah.
And then on my first week there, like I did until my friends, like, okay, yeah, finally weekend, because the weekend you can go out and hang out with friends and stuff like that. And then when you got to Saturday, it's like I'll be like, wait, I'm going to school.
Yeah.
So basically my question is like, don't learn everything as if you're going to Japanese school, but do you notice the differences? Like what are your thoughts on the Japanese school system just based off Persona?
Between like the North American style, like I guess, and the Japanese style, I feel like as if like the way I equated the Saturday school system was like I know, like, for example, like there's like Italian schools is on Saturdays sometimes, like some parents would send their kids to Italian school like in the morning.
Yeah, but it's not part of the
I know it's not part of the standard curriculum. But in my head I'm like, okay, well, academics on a Saturday kind of makes sense, but like to go to school on a Saturday, yeesh. But there's a big but. My cousins in Italy would constantly tell me that they had school on Saturdays. So they had school on Saturdays, but Saturdays like you would end around noon. Like schooling, like you would have school 6 days a week, but your schooling doesn't end at 3-4 p.m. It ends around noon, 1 o'clock, or whatever it may be. While playing these games, it's like I'm like, okay, well, maybe they're going to school 6 days a week, but it's like, oh, maybe they finish around 1 p.m. Like in my head, and then
nope.
I know, and I'm just there like, man, like, so and I was thinking about it, I'm like, no, but this is Japan. They're way more hardcore than Italy is, right? So I'm just there like, wow, like to go to school 6 days a week and like. And like finish at 3 p.m. every day, 4 p.m. or it's
insane.
Yeah, and in my head I'm like, okay, so they must have a nice long summer break, and it's like in the game, summer break is only a month, and I'm like, can I swear or no? Like
yeah, you can swear, but also like the school year doesn't start in September. They start in April, I think.
Okay,
so it's a little bit different too.
Fair enough. But in my head I'm like, this is. Wow, like
they have a huge emphasis on after school activities too. Like you notice, you join a lot of clubs and stuff. Again, it's easy for me to say as just playing video games, but I'm like, wow, I didn't have this at school. It'd be so cool to join X and X club.
Well, you know what? You say that, but I kind of like. So I've been told for many years, people say play Persona, and I finally sat down. I bought it on my Switch. I got Persona 4 Golden, and I basically, you know what? I know that basically people were telling me since it's a game from '08, right? So they're telling me like, okay, well, this technically has a true ending and whatnot, and you have to do this to do it. I'm like, okay, well, the first playthrough, I'm just gonna do it organically, like as if it was me playing in the game. So I did what I did in high school, like so I joined the soccer club because I played soccer in high school. And I was a kid that I did a lot of after school activities. Like I was in high school, I did the variety show. I ddid the
What?
I was a skit actor because I loved acting. I always loved acting.
Yeah.
So I did the variety show. I did the school play. I was I organized. I was a representative for my high school for the school board's leadership camp. So like we had a leadership camp where it would be like teaching teenagers leadership skills to help them out in the future and whatnot. And I was chosen as my school's leader.
Wow.
Yeah, look at that. Right? I was chosen as my school's leader for Camp Kinkora, it was called. And I was the representative for VMC. We would have representatives from all the other high schools and EMSB. We would meet up at Westmount once a week to plan this type of stuff. And we would do a 3-day leadership camp for chosen students throughout all our schools and stuff. So I used to do that. I was one of the when I was in secondary 5, I was one of the 4 because VMC they did like the house system like in Harry Potter, and I was the leader of like my house.
What the hell? I didn't have any of that.
Yeah, I was so like basically instead of having one school president, we had 4 school presidents, and I was one of the 4 presidents because I represented Wynn House because I was a very social butterfly and I would talk to everybody. So when voting came along, they're like, "Oh, let's vote for Gianni because we know him very well. Like we don't know the other candidates." So. Like I was very involved in school. So I'm like, okay, I made my character join soccer because that's what I would do. And I made my character join the drama club because that's what I would do.
Oh my God.
So it's like for me, like these after school activities, the heavy emphasis on it, like, oh yeah, no, I used to do this type of stuff. This is kind of cool too. But I see like you have to get involved. It's good though. I like that. But I think the strong academic is a bit too much. Like the strong emphasis on academics. I could see it's coming from a good place, but holy hell, I think teenagers still need time to be teenagers. They still need time to enjoy themselves. They still need times to really learn who they are and stuff. So if we're comparing the Japanese system to the North American system, it's cool that they like, but it's too long. It's too much. I feel like okay, culturally, if it's like I said, going back to the whole culture thing, if that's how they're culturally used to it and everyone's into that, you can't fight it. You just have to go along with it. You can't change the system, but in my eyes, I'm like, it's a bit too much. I think
it's interesting you say that because I don't know if you ever noticed this as an anime watcher and also you play games made in Japan.
Yeah,
the main characters are always around the teenage years age, and also the setting is often high school.
Yeah,
it's because it is said that in Japanese culture that is the most fun you have in your life is the teenage years, because as soon as you hit adulthood, it's over. It's serious. Get money, blah 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 blah.
100%.
So can you imagine like you saying, "Oh yeah, that's a bit too much." I'm like, "Oh well, but that's supposed to be their most fun that they're gonna have in their lives."
And in my eyes, that's like because like I said, this is from a Western viewpoint, right? Yeah. So growing up in the Western hemisphere, just like seeing that, obviously my worldview is completely different for them. They're like, oh no, but we enjoy this, and it makes sense, like it's like there's some people that just like they've grown up in that system so much that they're used to it, and for them they don't see a problem with it. They don't see like, oh, it doesn't really need changing. This is what we've grown with. This is what we're used to. And I think that's what it is with them. It's like this is the most fun we have. Like, don't get me wrong, like teenage years usually is where you have the most fun also when you're in North America, but it's because you have almost no responsibilities. I think it's the same concept there. It's just I guess you have more freedom to really like enjoy your hobbies or enjoy your interests and stuff instead of just being purely academic.
The education system in Japan is really is robust the right word? Like they put a lot of money into it, like the school lunches and stuff like that. It's way better than here.
Fair enough.
I forgot the name of the YouTube channel, but there's this guy who does a lot of videos on the lives of X type of jobs in Japan, and he did a couple episodes on school systems, and it's amazing what they put a lot of money in it,
which is good. I think more money needs to be put into education. There's all I'm saying, I'm not just saying it, I'm not saying payment for me, no, like I'm not saying that like, oh, teachers need more money, no, I'm not saying that. Like I'm not saying, what I'm saying is schools need more money. The education system needs more money here in Canada. I'll speak for like there's like I've seen it because I'm doing my stages in Ontario, so I see a bit of it in Ontario, but depending on one school to the other. But in Quebec, oh my fucking God, we need a lot of help in our education system. Like we need more funding in it. Like I'm not saying teachers, I'm saying the system itself. Like there's a lot of like lack of support for students. Maybe some technologies are not available in some schools. Some of the schools are still old and decrepit. Like they need, like there's buildings that need to be updated and stuff. Classrooms are like you're using material that just like are so outdated. It's like, okay, buddy, like We need like a smart board in this classroom or something. Environments aren't pleasant. Thankfully, we do a good job here with our food system in a way that, like, I don't know for you, from my experience in high school, like we had a cafeteria that had lunches. Like they made like proper lunches. Like they'll be like, okay, it's steamed veggies, mashed potatoes, and like a chicken or something, right? And same thing for like what the schools that I'm doing that I'm teaching at here in Quebec. Like they would have they have that. In Ontario, it's disgusting. It's like the cafeteria is usually rented out to like a private company rather than provided by the school board, and they have like those like oily pizzas or like random like poorly made cheeseburgers and stuff, or fries or curly fries or whatever. It's like there's no veggies at all. And if you want to buy veggies, yogurt, or fruit, that are in those like pre-made plastic cups, like it's like basically like one of those like food service providers or whatever. Like they charge like $5 for like yogurt, or like a big like plastic can of yogurt or something that has fruit in it. Or if you want like a big thing of veggies, that's also like $4, $5. Salad is like everything's like $5 and more. I'm like, this is unhealthy and ridiculous. Like it's in my head, I'm like, there's no support for in Ontario. It's even worse in their food system. So they need support for that. But for us here, I feel like a lot of our students are missing out on like a lot of aid and a lot of like additional tools that they can have because there's not enough support for it.
I don't know if this was a CSDN thing or Quebec thing, but when I was I live in Saint Michel, like you implied, we had a thing where I don't know if it's only citizen of a neighborhood of Saint Michel. Like if you're low income, they would do the thing where you could for a month $10. And you get to eat in the school cafeteria for which basically 15 cents per day.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's amazing
for low income family, which we were.
It's phenomenal. I think it's fantastic.
So we had that, and that's how I got to experience non-Asian food for the first time. But no one's
Asian cuisine's amazing. It's my second favorite cuisine.
Yeah, but you know but
all Asian cuisine in general. But yeah,
but that's how I got to experience and. Yeah, I think I was too young to notice, but my parents at the time was like, oh yeah, this is only $10-$15.
It's amazing. Per month, yeah, why not?
Which is it helped a lot because my parents are immigrants here and that's low income, so that was really helpful for them.
For sure. And it's great.
I think they told me it's a Saint Michel thing. I'm not sure if it was.
Well, because when I was elementary school, because like I said, but my elementary school my high school was in the Rosemont area, so like it's. But like I would go, like I was born and raised in Saint Michel, and I lived in Saint Michel. I still live today in Saint Michel, but I would take the bus to VMC, which was near was Rosemont and 27th Avenue.
Okay, we're talking about high school now.
Yeah, this is high school.
Okay,
yeah. But
I was talking about elementary school.
Oh, elementary school, they had a lunch program too, but I think this was like $20-$30 or something like that. Okay. And you would pick your meals for the month.
Okay. No, we didn't get to pick.
Okay. For us, it was the MSB. It was like they released the schedule. It was made by a company, and they would release the schedule for the month. And every meal you chose was like $1 or $2 or whatever it may be. But it was like a nice hot meal. And I would do it. Like my family was okay. We were lower middle class, because my grandparents also like I said, they owned the home, so like there was no rent to pay. There was nothing. So my family was like lower middle class. So basically for us, it's like my mom was like, oh, if you want this or that, she's like, it would save her like a bit of groceries or whatever. So like if I find a way to save like if it's only cost $1 or $2 to feed my son this meal, it's better that than $5 of groceries I'm gonna have to pay. So and it was nice because sometimes there's nice hot meals that you you really wanted. Like sometimes your parents like wouldn't give to you as a sandwich or as leftovers and stuff. So we had that. We not like. Our cafeteria was just a room to hold the students while they ate their lunches, whether they brought the lunches from home or they ordered from this meal program. But it was a very cheap meal program too. Like it was subsidized, not as much as what you guys had, but it was subsidized in a sense where it's like, yeah, you're not gonna break your head open in terms of or breaking the bank in order to feed your child at school. Like it was well supported. I can't speak for the elementary schools in Ontario, but the high schools, they're on their own. It's like you're at the mercy of whatever company's renting out that space and how much you have to pay for that. It's disgusting. It's horrible. It's to the point where it's like you much rather go out to a McDonald's to get the food there because it's cheaper and you probably get more than what you would pay for at the cafeteria of the school. So yeah, no, but besides that, like we need more support in Quebec in general. Like our schools need help. Okay. They need help.
To finish off about your teaching stuff.
Yeah.
So I remember one thing because I I posted something about the dan dan dan,
Yeah.
and then you replied to me saying how you loved it too.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I'm watching because I want to get up to date with what the kids are into
Yes.
nowadays. So
Yes.
you want to talk a little bit about that, like how
So-
why you yeah.
So like first of all, like I this like no like I enjoyed Dan Dan Dan. I think it's a bit overhyped, but it's a good anime. I like it. There's parts I'm like, okay, it's a rom-com, that's fine. It has an audience. I'm not really that target audience, so I give it a like I'm not the target audience for it, but right now I know it's a very big thing that this like it's nice to like keep interested in what the students are interested in, because connections with the students are very important when you're a teacher. You need to feel that like the students need to feel like there's somebody that, especially when you're in high school, when you're teaching teenagers, you need to be someone that the teenagers can trust, or the teenagers can confide in, or the teenagers are like, they feel a bit of a link to you. I'm not saying you have to be their best friend. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that like, oh, you know, like Mr. Delli Colli really likes anime, you know, it's like, hey sir, did you ever watch this? And then you open up a conversation with them, and it just helps organically develop social link another persona, right? Like it helps organically develop like a connection with them, that's like that whenever they have other questions in life, or not life, or like even academically, maybe they were just too shy to ask you, but now they feel more comfortable with you, so they're like, hey sir, actually, you know what, I'm having trouble with this topic in math, do you mind if we just spend time after school to do it, or like at lunch? I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to make sure you guys succeed. I'm not here to make your life a living hell. I got a perfect example. When I did one of my first stages in Cornwall, there was one student that like, she was very, I don't want to say resistant to me, but she was very like she would give me just a little bit of attitude. She would still like listen to me and still like answer my questions, but with a bit of like snarkiness to it, or a bit of like okay sir type of vibe. And then one day I was just talking. So it was one student in my class that I connected easily well with, because he would bring his DS and he was playing Pokemon, and I easily connected him with Pokemon and stuff. And I'm like, and he was like, and the kid asked me, he's like, oh sir, do you like, so growing up, was Pokemon your favorite anime? It's like, yeah, I like Pokemon and stuff, but you know, there was Yu-Gi-Oh and all that stuff. And then I said, like, nowadays I enjoy JoJo, with like JoJo's my favorite anime. And the student, she's like, oh sir, you watch JoJo? I'm like, yeah, I love JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And she's like, oh, I find it kind of cool. And then we open up, and then next thing you know, she starts like dumping like all her favorite animes and stuff, and like her one of her favorite ones that I can't remember the name she told me about it, but she told me it was basically the student, obviously Japanese anime in a high school, right? The student is trying to find out a murderer in their town or whatever, and it ends up being the teacher that's the murderer. I can't remember the name of the anime itself, but the students reliving the murder day day by day, like it's kind of like Groundhog Day, but in a sense where it's like the students learning more about the murder each time it goes back in time. Like the students constantly constantly returning. I'm poorly summarizing it, and it's a very vague explanation. But she was explaining this to me. I'm like, oh, that's a cool concept. And then ever since then, you know, like she was much less of a snarky to me, you know. So that's why, like, it's an example, it's a random example, but that's why I'm like, I try to keep in touch of like, what are the kids interested in? So like that, if there's ever something I can use to help bridge a connection with a student that's very resistant towards me, like it helps. And it's also investment in my career, because you know, like you could be wasting a lot of time trying to get through to some students. We're trying to get them to learn a concept because they're just so resistant to you. They're just gonna like, nope, I don't care, nope, I hate you, or whatever type of thing. But if you find a way to like lower those walls or break down those walls in a way, it makes learning so much easier, and you're able to kind of teach those concepts much quicker. And that's why it's like, it's great to kind of keep in touch with what the kids are interested in, because, hey, cool, it keeps you young and it kind of keeps you in the know, but it also helps with, you know, getting through those barriers and stuff. And Dan, I like, we were talking about the ballerina episode. Oh my God. Oh, I'm like, this hurts so much, right? To the point where it's like, I turned to my friend, like half teary eyed. I'm like, are there other spirits that kind of get a happier ending like this? And there's like, my friend's looking at me deadpan. He's like, not all the time. Like, no, don't do this to me. Like, no, like these oh my God, I forgot the term that I forget the name of the term, but like, cause I can't think of it right now, but you know, like these ghosts, I'm like I love the fact that like she kind of like, you know, she's no longer forgotten, you know, like now her powers were given to, oh my God. I can't remember.
It's okay. All the big fans will
Yeah,
know what we're
like
talking
like,
about.
and I'm like, oh my, this is such a beautiful story and stuff. Last episode I watched was when you saw that good like the
I'm not up to date. I'm not up to date.
Okay, well, it's just the one with the like the Loch Ness monster appears in a school and stuff.
Oh, yeah, I
and,
watched that one.
yeah, that was the last episode I watched and stuff. Which I found like, oh my god, it's Godzilla. But yeah, that was the last episode I've seen. But like overall, like it's a fun anime. I enjoy it. It's fun. It's obviously, like I said, no, I'm not the target audience, but I understand that, so that's why I don't shit on it. I'm like, this is like, it doesn't mean it's bad. It's just I'm not the target audience, but but for what I see, what it's trying to do, it's enjoyable and it's fun. I still like. I have to echo one of my friends' sentiments. Shout out to Luca. His monsters need better design. Like I feel like as if the aliens are fantastic. They have a great personality. Sorry. My mistake. Correction. Inverse that. His ghosts are wonderful designs. Wonderful stories.
I was gonna
wonderful
say, you think his alien rapists are great designers?
No. I have to inverse that. What I meant to say is that because I'm monsters, I was thinking of the Loch Ness monster. That's why.
Yeah.
But his aliens, besides the one race of them, like they're not good. I feel like and his theory is that maybe, so what he theorized, that the creator designed all these things at the same time, and he felt like, okay, well, I have a story for these. I don't really have a story for these. So you know what? I'll make these things ghosts and I'll make these things aliens. And that's basically what he did and stuff. Like it's a good theory. I think it's a very valid theory. But his ghosts, phenomenal. Like phenomenally designed, great stories, great interesting things. The aliens, could use some work.
Here it is. We got a review of that by
Yeah.
Gianni's.
Great, amazing intro though. Like the intro song, the opening theme is amazing. I listen to it sometimes when I work out. It's pretty fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
And also, man, like I love this new generation where anime is relevant in high school.
Oh yeah, 100%. It wasn't this way for us in high school, dude.
No. I was the weird, like this was so niche for us.
Yeah.
Back then. I was like, oh my, like this is awesome.
The only one that you were able to like really be out and about with, like enjoying, was like the generic ones that were like on White TV or Teletoon back in the day, like Beyblade, Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball, Pokemon, and stuff. And then like I love Monster Rancher. A lot of people don't know what Monster Rancher is.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, dude, Monster Rancher is amazing. Okay, I won't get into that topic because that'll be like another hour of discussion. But like to the point where it's like the only like almost non-niche ones that you're allowed to get, like they were still kind of niche but not niche completely, that you're kind of get away with in high school to talk about, was either Inuyasha, or Full Metal Alchemist for us. Like like unless you were talking about those ones, people kind of knew what you're kind of implying or whatever. Besides that, forget about it. Like if you got into like, I don't know, like Zotch Bell or something like that, or like my friend really enjoyed Fruit Basket. I tried it, wasn't a big fan of this manga. What was another manga that I found was kind of cool and I didn't continue it? You know, like if you're like into those type of mangas itself, like newer generation, I love it because for them it's like you have to watch anime, which I love. It picked up.
Yeah, like I said to another guest, like two biggest passions were super niche back then: video games and anime. Now it's like
Everyone loves it.
You'll be crazy if you don't like or like acknowledge them.
Yes.
Because even back then, like video games, especially, like were taboo. Like, oh, you play video games, you probably have bad grades, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Which to me was totally opposite.
It was the opposite. I'm like, no, the video game nerds are the ones that have the best grades. They're just lazy. We're just lazy people because video games are all about efficiencies. You're like, okay, what do I need to do to get this mark? Okay, that's it, done. All right, back to my game.
All right, you talk about Pokemon, so that's a perfect segue to one of your many other ventures.
Yes.
So you're a Pokemon gym leader.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
So obviously, you know, I'm born in 92. So like when I was like 5-6 years old, basically, that's when the Pokemon fad came to North America. I remember running home because YTV used to show the episodes at 3:00, and my elementary school at the time would finish at 3, so I'd have to like run home with my grandmother, which she would run as much. So I tried my best to like walk fast with my nana, and to get back home to watch the last like maybe 10 minutes of Pokemon, because it was the big thing and stuff. And then finally our school used to let that, like the year afterwards they let out at 2, so I was able to watch those episodes at 3. But like that year, like everyone got into the fad, right? So I remember getting I got a Game Boy Pocket with Pokemon Red that year for Christmas in 97. And you know what? People really underestimate what video games can do to the academic development of a child, because a lot of my reading skills came from playing these RPGs.
Yes, I agree.
Like I remember like the first few minutes of playing Pokemon.
That's how I learned English, by playing Pokemon, by playing Zelda. Because back then Zelda was, well, even now it's all written.
Yeah.
Written dialogue.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll be honest, like just a small side segment. I find like for students attending the French school system, like the English classes in the French school system are poor. They're horrible. I've only had a few handful experiences where I actually enjoyed teaching English in the French high schools, because I actually felt like I was teaching. The other time I'm like, wow, why am I doing grade 3 stuff with a bunch of sec 3s, sec 4s? Like, this does not make sense. But we'll get to that. So it's good.
In my high school, they split it actually. We had advanced English and normal second. How do you call it? Second language.
Langue secondaire or whatever. Yeah. So for, like English second language, right? Like me too. So like when I was in high school, I was in langue seconde français, mais enrichi. So it was enriched. Yeah. It wasn't langue maternelle or like secondary, but it was still like. But yeah. Anyways, but video games are a great way to help your child like learn how to read and like develop critical thinking skills. And I remember like this is a very, very, very like specific memory in my mind, because that's when I first learned what the word was. Like in the first 5 minutes of the game of Pokemon Red and Blue, like you would Professor Oak would ask you to run an errand. So, but the game would cut it off because of the text box to and. And I'll ask my dad, I'm like, hey dad, what does and mean? And he's reading it and he's like, oh, errand. I'm like, but daddy, how did you know it was errand? And he's like, because the dash means that the word continues on the next line. And that's when I learned about that that reading technique. So, and then he told me, I'm like, oh, so what's an errand? He's like, oh, when you have to do a job. I'm like, oh, okay. And then it's like, I had to go do a job. And so getting that, then over the years, like it was everything for me. Like Pokemon was like I love playing the Game Boy game, the trading card game. I was one of those first kids to know what the rules of the Pokemon TCG was at my school. Everyone's just like, oh, I just like to play the cards and do this and stuff. And it's like, no, guys, there's rules to this. Same thing with Yu-Gi-Oh! When I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm like, no, guys, rules are rules. Math is math. Like the Incredibles meme, math is math. Rules are rules in a way. Not saying I'm a stickler for rules, but more like, guys, there's a way to play this game properly. Let's play it properly. So like I used to love playing the TCG game on the Game Boy Color as well. Silver, Crystal, everything. I remember going my 7th birthday, Pokemon the movie 2000 was around, with the Lugia movie and stuff. So
one of my favorite.
Phenomenal film. Would go watch it. I got my friends together, went to go watch it for my 7th birthday. Just Pokemon throughout the years was just such a big thing for me, like playing like Gen 3 is my favorite generation. Pokemon Coliseum was one of my favorite underrated games on the GameCube. Super hard to find nowadays. And then just like I'm a very competitive person in spirit. I love playing things competitively, not like I like to win. I hate losing, but not like in a sense where I'm gonna be a sore loser. Like if I'm gonna be pissed off, let's say like if I'm playing Yu-Gi-Oh with you, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, whatever it may be, and I lose. Like I'll be maybe salty or pissed off, but I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you. Like I'm like, fuck, I shouldn't have played that card. I'm like, damn it, maybe I did too soon. Like I would be like, what the fuck did I do? Like I wouldn't say like, oh, my opponent this, my opponent. There are, especially Pokemon, there are things that luck happens, or it's like a crit happens, or like, oh, you got one extra turn of sleep or whatever. But I learned at a young age that this stuff happens. Like if it happens to you, it happens to your opponent. You have to accept it. It's the nature of the beast, or else don't play this game. So I'm like, okay, cool. Right. So I understand that. So because I always had a competitive spirit, when I was, when Gen 5 came around, so Black White, towards the end of Black White, I started playing VGC, Pokemon video game chat. It's the official competitive format of Pokemon, where it's like you have a team of 6, you bring 4 into the battle, and it's 2v2. Mm-hmm. Right. So I started developing a love for VGC. So it was around 2012, 2013. And then during Gen 6, during XY, I used to play in online leagues, I guess on forums and stuff. Then when Gen 7 came around and it became super easier, like it was already getting easy in XY, but it was getting much, much easier in Gen 7 to like make competitive Pokemon in game. I'm like, you know what? Let me take a serious crack at VGC tournaments. And I would go on the official Pokemon website. Oh, cool. There's VGC tournaments happening in Montreal. So I would go often and stuff. And I would go play in these VGC tournaments and stuff and meet people. The Montreal Pokemon League. They would run these events and stuff. And I used to love playing. Like I would go to all, like almost all their tournaments and stuff or whatever. Their little tournaments. And socialize and, just be me. Just be who I am. And then eventually one of the coordinators, one of the, I guess the co-founders or whatever of the league is like, hey, we have a spot open for either the fairy type gym leader or the fighting type gym leader. We want to know, would you be interested in taking one of those roles? I'm like, absolutely. I mean, like, I would love to. Are you kidding me? I would love. This is amazing. I always want to be involved, and like, because I love Pokemon and stuff. Like, this is the best way to be involved. Like, yeah, I'll be the fairy type gym leader. I love fairy types. You know, it's my third favorite type. I was about to say water, steel, fairy. It's my third favorite type. So I'm like, yeah, definitely. I would love to be the fairy type gym leader, and I've been involved since 2022. Around 2021, 2022, more or less.
Okay.
I've been the fairy gym leader since then and stuff. So hosting online monthly challenges for my badge and stuff, or maybe in-person events and stuff, challenges for my badge and stuff. And
who approached it? Was it Sean?
I know it wasn't Sean. It was Nick, and it was Nick along with who else was there? It was Anthony part of the discussion. I think it was Anthony that was part of the discussion as well as Nick, and I think it was Nick and Anthony. Sean, I think obviously probably wasn't available that day, or maybe I don't remember that he was there, but it was over the phone. It was like over like, cause like we were like we didn't have a way to meet up and stuff, so we did a it was like a messenger 3-way call or whatever it may be and stuff. It was over the phone. Okay. And I got asked directly, and I was like, yeah, 100%, I'm in. I'm in 100%. Okay. And ever since then, been involved with the league, trying to help out whenever I can, whenever there's events and stuff, providing input. I love it. They're a great group of people. They're very passionate people. We're going through a bit of a situation right now where like a lot of us are slowly getting older and having more responsibilities. So we have a little bit of less time to focus on the league. So we have to find ways to either A, get a new generation involved, or B, find ways to revamp it to develop more of an interest. I don't think it's mostly a league thing. It's also the way Pokemon is right now with the games. It's not like everybody's picking up and playing competitive Pokemon right now, which they should be because it's fun and it's free. Well, besides paying for the games, but it's just more like we have to find ways to like really attract a bigger audience in Montreal in terms of like diversity of the activities, because our Otakuthon events, phenomenal. We always get a regular group of people that come along in which to support the league. We love them for that. But we love getting like the newer face, like, oh my God, Pokemon, like I haven't played this since I was a kid and stuff. And it's nice to see those type of faces too. There was this little girl last year at Otakuthon. She was amazing. She's like maybe like 5-6 years old, but she had a fire in her. Like I told the mom, like, your daughter is going places, because she was like she was a sassy like boss type of personality and a little kid, but like you saw there was a sweetheart in her type of thing. But she was like good. I told mom, like, I hope she never loses that, because that's a phenomenal. And she would like, Mom, I want to give 5 tickets. Like, he has to release that Pokemon. I'm like, no, don't do that to me. She's like, yes, I'm doing that to you. You're going to have to release that Pokemon. She was adorable.
Shout out to the mom for being there for her.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like, supported. Like, back in the day, my parents, like, they would get mad at me if I bought Yu-Gi-Oh cards and stuff like that. Like, why? You're your secondary one. What are you doing with these kids' toys or whatever? And lo and behold, now I travel North America for that. But yeah, like now it's nice to see, like, because it's our generation being parents now. So they're like, most of us didn't have parents to support these hobbies. We want to be the parents that support our kids during these hobbies and stuff, and know when it's a hobby versus like, okay, this is too much. But as long as it's a hobby, who cares? Let your child have fun. Who cares what they like? It's because culturally it's not in your, I guess, culture, because like, oh, my son's not into like soccer his whole life. Oh no, then he's a failure. Like, no, that doesn't work that way. Like your child doesn't, just because like that type of sport or whatever is in your, I guess, ethnicity or culture, whatever it may be, doesn't mean that your child needs to focus on that. If they enjoy something, let them enjoy it. So long as like you really help like nurture that passion and stuff, you never know what it can do for them. As long as you make them understand that like some things are passion, some things are, you can make a career out of it and stuff. But anyways, that's a whole conversation for another day.
But yeah, from my, funny enough, like that's how I knew you were doing this. Is I've been a staff for Otakuthon for years. I think this was my 14th year this year. You guys, the Montreal Pokemon League. Outside perspective, because I run around the room doing stuff. Yeah. And I always see that you guys, your booth is like the most accessible in terms of like I see different age groups. Yes. I see a lot of people having fun. I'm like, and always crowded. Like
yes.
Because
we love that. We love that.
Because the way you do kind of do a circle, and then people can line up and to battle different of you guys, gym leaders, and it's always packed. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And then you actually give the badges. I'm like,
yes, we and it's cool because like what we do is that for Otakuthon we have our badges are basically Pokemon cosplaying as other animes. like when I took over, right, for the fairy gym leader, my first badge was Grimmsnarl. Do you know the Pokemon Grimmsnarl? Okay, Grimmsnarl is a Gen 8 Pokemon, very dark. You ever seen the meme of Ziz, like the workout guy from 4chan? It's basically like this. Okay, so anyways, is these like big buff dude? Like it's a fairy dark type that is like looks like a muscle dude, whatever, and like as bulky as like Machamp or Machoke, and but a really good competitive Pokemon because it had great abilities and stuff. And what I did was I basically, because his hair is like very emo style, but I had him. Our designer, shout out to Ariane, she does a great job with designs. She redesigned him as Josuke from JoJo Part 4. So instead of his hair being in front of his face, it would be like parted up like Josuke's hair.
You show me this afterwards.
The year after, I had Tinkaton. It's a fairy steel type that carries around a big hammer, dressed up as King DDD, and had the hammer replaced by DDD's hammer. And she was wearing the robe and the crown, and it's still Tinkaton, but the hammer is King DDD's hammer.
That's cool.
And this year I had Klefki, which was a fairy steel type from Gen 6. It's like literally like a keychain, and instead of it holding keys, it was the Millennium Ring from Yu-Gi-Oh. So
that's deep cut. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if all your participants did know what those.
No. Like, so King DDD, they loved it. That was a very popular. People were challenging me just to get that badge because they love King DDD. And then like a bit of the older school fans are like, oh wait, that's the Millennium Ring for you, because it's still Gen 1 Yu-Gi-Oh, so people kind of know like Gen 1 Pokemon. People will know what it is. So like it was still kind of popular. My Josuke one that year I couldn't make it because I had a wedding, unfortunately, so I wasn't able to be there. But I think that one did an okay job. But I think my most popular one so far has been the King DDD one. But yeah, so like our badges are, so we do special badges just for Talkathon where every type has a Pokemon it's cosplaying as something else from another anime.
I love the concept.
Yeah. And then we have our regular badges for the league.
Okay. But yeah, just to finish my story, like I walk around every year, do my stuff, and then this year I noticed you were there. I was like, wait, I know that guy.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, same year, I noticed Sean was there. Because I work with Sean a little bit at
and I'm like, how did you never know this stuff?
And he's like, yeah, I'm one of the co-founders. I was like, so you've been here like every year basically? He's like, yeah, because you since 2022, so that I couldn't understand how I would miss you. Like I was like, oh, I guess I don't know. I guess I just didn't pay attention to the people, which I feel bad about it.
No, but it's normal because you got like a lot to go. You got a lot going on and whatnot, so you barely focus on what's happening around you and stuff. So it's normal.
And you guys are self-sufficient for the most part, so that's why I don't pay too much attention. I'm like, oh, are these guys doing okay? And I think you have a dedicated staff to use too, so that's why.
We're a big group of people. We're a lot of people that get involved in stuff. We really love it and stuff. So,
but yeah, I'll just say like I was like, oh my god, like. What are the chances of me two people that I know in this same organization? Like, wow. How does it work?
So the way it works is we have two ways so once a month, a gym leader will host a challenge for about 2.5 hours. Sometimes it'll be in person. We'll have like maybe 4 or 5 of us gather at a very accessible spot like downtown Montreal or whatever, and you would meet up and we would like have 4 or 5 of us that you can challenge for our badges. And then sometimes we have a Discord channel that sometimes we do online challenges. So especially for those that come from far away or they don't have like a way of getting around the city or whatever it may be, we will host a challenge on our Discord server for 2.5 hours where it's like you challenge us virtually. Like it will still be through the Switch game. Like all this is done through the newest version. So Scarlet and Violet, it's always the newest mainline game. It's not going to be Brilliant Diamond or Shining Pearl, or it's not going to be Legends. It's always going to be the most recent mainline game. You would challenge us. And so with Discord, it's easy because we'll just send you the code and you challenge us from a distance, or in person, like we'll challenge you in person and whatnot. If you beat us, you get our badge. We're restricted to only using our types. Besides one Pokemon, we're allowed to have one wildcard Pokemon. So like in my case, for example, my wildcard Pokemon is Landorus Therian. Nobody's allowed to use restricted. Like we kind of follow rules like no restricteds, no like major legendaries or whatever. But like you're allowed to use like like trios and stuff like Zapdos, stuff like that. So I'm using Landorus Therian. But even though he's not a fairy type, when I have to terrestrialize him, because the gimmick in this generation is you're allowed to Terra to change your typing into a different Pokemon type. I have to terrestrialize him into a fairy type. I'm not allowed to use any other types. He has to. If I'm changing his typing, it has to go to fairy.
Just like in the games.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I'm like essentially like the gym leader, and each one of us has a different gym leader style. So for me, because I play a lot of VGC, mine is 6 versus 6 doubles. So like instead of just using 4, you bring all 6, and it's 2v2. It's 2v2. But some gym leaders like to use the single battles, so it's 1v1, and maybe they don't use the full 6; they'll only use 3. Or some gym leaders use the triple battles, or rotation, or tag team, or whatever it may be. Each gym leader.
For people that don't play Pokemon, these are different types of battles.
Yeah, exactly. Than the standard types of battles that they introduce throughout the generations and stuff. But a lot of them, like a lot of us have gimmicks. So every gym has a gimmick. My gimmick is that the only items your Pokemon are allowed to hold, including myself, are berries. You can only hold berries. So citrus berry, lum berry, papaya, papa berry, like all these berries. Like you're not allowed to use these berries. You're not allowed to use anything else. It's just berries. Some gym leaders are like, okay, you're not allowed to use abilities that change speeds, so like Trick Room or Tailwind or the stuff like that.
And everything is public.
Yeah, everything's public. Yeah. Like everyone can see it on our website. We have a website, the Montreal Pokemon League. You're allowed to go on the website. We see each gym leader, who they are, what type they have, and not which Pokemon they have, but because we're allowed to change our Pokemon in between challenges. But like, you'll see like what our gimmicks are for like, and what kind of battle style we are, so that you can kind of prepare for that. And you see what our type is. So like, okay, so this is a fairy gym leader. So a lot of people bring steel types and poison types against me. That's why I went for Landorus, because Landorus is a ground type that is not weak to any of these things. It resists both, and it hits hard. So it has a phenomenal ability and intimidate. So
I hope we have a Pokemon player audience to understand all this.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for the rest of you.
Sorry about that. If people are like, what the heck is a Landorus? What's Grimmsnarl? Why is he referencing 4chan in that? But anyways, what do I want to say? So each one of us has those type of gimmicks and stuff. Some are like, oh, you can't use one-hit KO moves, or some are like, oh, like every turn I roll a dice from like a 4-sided dice. You're not allowed to use the attack that's in that slot. But like the attacks are like kind of known. So before people choose, like, so like on Pokemon Stadium, you would kind of see your opponent's attacks, but before they choose you don't see what they're gonna attack with, but you'll see their attacks. Like you have the 4 C buttons, right? So kind of that same concept where they would show each other their switches, and they would both roll a 4-sided dice, right? So let's say for example your 4 attacks are, I'll just use easy ones: tackle, cut, surf, and strength. And I roll a 4. You can't use strength because it's your 4th slot. So I know that if you select strength, you cheated. Same thing for me. Let's say you see my 4 attacks, and you'll see, I'll choose easy ones again: Hyper Beam, Growl, Sleep Powder, and Flash, whatever. And you roll 4-sided dice, and you rolled a 1. So my number 1 is Hyper Beam. I wouldn't be allowed to use Hyper Beam. And if I clicked it, that means I cheated. So that's how, like, but after we show what our attacks are that we're not allowed to use, then we hide our screens, and like we choose whichever attack we want to use out of the other 3 that are remaining. Like there's a gym leader that does something like that. So it's kind of cool.
That's really cool.
That's what I'm saying. Like we have gimmicks that are kind of like that. It's not just simple battles. It's like there's additional things to it, just to kind of like imitate what the TV show used to have. Like the gym leaders had like gimmicks in their gyms themselves. Like Misty had the underwater, gym, cerulean gym and whatnot. So stuff like that. We kind of try to go towards that style.
If I was a kid, like this is totally my thing. But now I'm.
Come on, you're never old.
But now I still play Pokemon, but I'm not to this degree. Like I just play to finish the story, and I'm
fair enough.
Well, no, actually no. I try to complete Pokedex, and that's it. I don't.
And it's a great thing that you bring that up. So for those of you that are listening that love Pokemon, you're like, oh, but I don't play competitive Pokemon. That's A-okay. At Otakuthon, what we do is that we have rental switches. So for those that, I love Pokemon, or it's like, I love it, but I don't have time to make a competitive team. I don't have that energy. I don't have that interest. That's A-okay. We have pre-built competitive teams that you can use on our rental switches to challenge the gym leaders. and that they're good, like they're good teams. Like there's one team that I'm not going to give away because there's always that one Pokemon on this one team that auto kills my team no matter what I bring out, and it pisses me off. And every time I see it, right, being used against me, and I see the specific Pokemon being used against me, I'm like, oh my god, that's it. I just start slowly giving the badge to the other player. I'm like, the only way he doesn't get this badge or she gets this badge is if they mess up, because they have an easy win versus me with this one Pokemon. So, but that's why I'm saying, like, we have pre-built teams for users, so you don't have to worry about if you ever come see us at Otakuthon or just in general. If you don't have a team to use, we definitely have rental codes or switches that you can use. And even that, what the great thing about Pokemon nowadays is they have rental teams. So, like, you know, like in Stadium 1 and 2, like you can make a team and it's rented. You could save them.
Yep.
In Gen 8, which was Sword and Shield, and now they're in Gen 9, they introduced a concept called rental teams, where it's like, I make a team, I can upload it to a server, like the main official Pokemon server, and it generates a code. You can download my team with this code and use it online. You don't even have to have the Pokemon. You use my team online, already pre-built competitively. So our server might have players that like, oh, wait, you're going to challenge this gym? Let me just put my team up as a rental code, and you could borrow this team. Like, you don't even have to catch the Pokemon. It's just like you're using the code just for the online challenges, and you can use this rental team to fight against me.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So you don't have to worry. If you enjoy Pokemon, and even if you don't have time to play competitively, you can still challenge for our badges because we have a community that's very supportive. Yeah.
All right. Starting around out of time. Just run me
Sorry
through
about that. I talk a lot.
No, that's awesome. Run me through a few other things you do. Like, you officiate other tournaments.
Yeah. So
you play yourself. Like,
so when I was at CJEP, I started getting, like, I always loved Yu-Gi-Oh growing up. Always loved it, especially when it came out. And when I was in CJEP, I had a lot more free time, and I got into playing it competitively. As I said before, I'm a very competitive person. Because of that, I started going to local tournaments here in Montreal. And I used to referee soccer as a kid, like as a teenager, as an early teenager. I know, right? And I'm like, you know what? I was turned to one of my best friends, and I'm like, I used to referee soccer a lot. Why don't I just referee Yu-Gi-Oh? Like,
there's no correlation, but sure.
No, I mean, like, no, because like I said before, like rules are rules. Like I hate when people cheat in a game just to win. I hate when people try to like cheat to like try to get an advantage or whatever. I'm like, no. Like, let's have like fairness and competitive, like proper sportsmanship and stuff. So, and we used to go to this one local shop that had a bunch of cheaters. Like, it was horrible. Like, it was not fun to play against these guys. And I stopped going there. And I still say to this day, the environment is still bad there, and the culture needs to change there. But I don't want to get into that. So we started refereeing. One of my best friends, his name is Jordan. Phenomenal brain. He's like, that guy is a genius. Like, he could be a world ruler if he wants, but he's not. He's a very happy-go-lucky kind of guy too.
You can rule the world as a happy-go-lucky.
Fair
guy.
enough. But like he like so him and I started judging events, but he picked it up super easily, all the intricate rulings and all the intricate policies and whatnot. I kind of picked them up throughout the years, but it took more time for me. Like, for him, it was organic. For me, like, I really had to apply myself. So, but he really accelerated into it. And then to the point that both him and I would travel. Like, we started just going to Toronto. So you know how Formula One has different races in different parts of the world once a month or once a week or whatever? Yeah. Kind of like, it's called a circuit. Basically, Yu-Gi-Oh has a championship series circuit where it's like, once a month, a city would host a major Yu-Gi-Oh tournament where you have like a chance at an exclusive prize card. And the Canada only gets one a year, and it was majority of the time was in Toronto or Niagara Falls now, and now they're starting to rotate a bit with the West End. So like Vancouver probably gets, but it's only once a year, which is unfortunate. But there's a whole slew of reasons why. I'm not going to get into that. I don't think I'm allowed to. So we started going to referee the one in Toronto, and the big judges at the time, like the ones that were always like the head judges or like the assistant head judges of these tournaments of like 500 to like 3,000 player tournaments and stuff, they were like, when they saw me work, they're like, oh, like, you have some great potential, like the way you are, you should probably going out of your comfort zone, like try going more towards the West, like go try to judge events in the West Coast where you don't know the player base or you're not socially connected to a lot of the players there. Because being in Toronto, like working events in Toronto and Montreal, I knew majority of the players. But try to going to a different part of North America where you don't know the majority of the player base. You don't have that comfort zone, like try to, like, we want to see you try that. So I didn't go to that just yet. I did Toronto, then I worked in an event of like 600, 700 players in Providence. Did a great job there. Then this was back in like 2016. at the World Championships in 2016, I was one of the referees during like this, not the main event, like the side, like little tournaments, but whatever. It's still like a major.
Stills.
Yeah. I guess I impressed the right people there because ever since then, like 99% of the time, if I ever applied to judge a major event, I've always been accepted. So like I've been to like Pittsburgh, like it's always North America. Like I do one day want to go judge a European event, like somewhere in Italy, but it requires much more finances because you still have to kind of pay for your flights and stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do they pay for anything?
So what I'm allowed to, so they like I think I'm allowed to say this. So they pay for a hotel, but you have to pay for your travel expenses. But they give you judge exclusive items like play mats or exclusive like items that you can sell to players after the event to get to recoup some of that travel expense. And you're also getting paid by the hour when you judge it. Yeah. Okay. So you're like I've never worked an event in the minuses. Like I've always come out in the black. I've never been in the red working an event. And I don't do it because I do it because it's fun. I love it. But like financially, like it always works out. But it's just you still have to front a lot of the expenses first. But eventually it all comes back. But anyways, but I've been to like California numerous times. I've been to Vegas numerous times. I've been to cool. I've been to like random cities like I said, Providence before. There was like I've been to Jersey, Salt Lake City, Detroit, Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a fun city. Chicago. Chicago's beautiful. The downtown is amazing. I really recommend the Chicago downtown to anybody who ever has a chance to go visit downtown Chicago. It's not Boston. Boston's my favorite American city, but I never worked an event in Boston. But I've been many times because it's only a 5-hour drive.
Speaking of Boston, how dare you?
Hey!
How dare you?
The Bruins, man. But
this guy is like one of the most like hardcore Boston Bruins fans
I have a fun theory about that, by the way. So if you notice, a lot of like Bruins fans in Montreal are always people of Euro descent. This is a personal fun theory.
Of what?
Euro descent.
Euro descent?
Okay. This is a personal fun theory. This is a personal fun theory. This is not anything serious. And what I'm about to say, I need to emphasize, it's not anything serious. So I find like a lot of people of European descent are like Bruins fans or Leafs fans or whatever, is because when they first came to Canada, discrimination is a thing. Let's be realistic. So they're like especially my dad went through a lot of discriminations. Like, oh, so you discriminate against me? You know what? Like, I'm gonna go for, like, oh, you guys love your hockey. I'm gonna go for the rival team, whatever. Because I don't see myself as a French Canadian. I'm not a French Canadian. I don't associate with the Habs. Like Montreal doesn't really have that idea anymore. Even though they want to kind of keep that spirit, it's like, yeah, but it's no longer the French Canadian team. Yes, it's in a French Canadian city, but it's no longer the team of French Canadians. It's changed now, and you don't succeed with just having that kind of mentality. But that's another discussion for hockey for another day. But so like, you know what? I'll go for the team that does not like I don't associate with French Canadians, and they start supporting the other teams. So if you notice, like a lot of the Bruins fans, Blackhawks fans, Leafs fans, whatever it may be during that era, because they were the original six, right? They're fans of those teams. Like majority of them are just not French Canadian. If you take a look at it, you really consider it. And my personal theory is that the reason why my dad chose the Bruins is because prior to Wayne Gretzky, the guy with the greatest scoring record prior to Wayne Gretzky was an Italian Canadian from Ontario named Phil Esposito. Oh. Right? So obviously it helped when you play with Bobby Orr, right? Yeah. But like, so they were like, oh, this guy's one of us. So basically, I think it was also like an easier magnet to support that team and stuff. And so I think that was kind of like an easier magnet for it. But like if I like growing up throughout the years, like a lot of the Bruins fans that I met, or the team fans of different teams, it was rare that they were French Canadian. The ones that were French Canadian, I like these teams because of guys like Ray Bourque, for example, like for the Bruins, or it's maybe because they just liked the team. They loved Bobby Orr more than they loved Guy Lafleur or something. It's just because of that. But anyways, that's why. For me, it's like I just love the Bruins because my dad loved the Bruins, and then it just stuck.
Because I've seen a lot of Toronto fans, which I'm like, okay, well, probably a lot of Toronto people, Ontario people came here, so that makes. Oh, well, also Montreal, we're pretty. We have a lot of Anglophones here, so I'm like, okay, so it makes sense. They came from another province. Yeah. But Bruins, that's a little bit random. It's like, well, but that's in the States. Like, where'd you come from? Actually, well, now you tell me this. Okay.
I would feel like I would argue that Montreal's second team is the Bruins. Montreal's second team is the Bruins. For how many Bruins fans I've met throughout the years versus Leafs fans, I would argue that Montreal.
I've never been to a Montreal Bruins game, so that's why I would notice.
Oh no,
I go to Montreal versus Leafs games, and
I argue that Bruins Habs is a much stronger and bigger rivalry than Leafs Habs.
Yes,
Bruins Habs is the hockey rivalry, because
not just hockey rivalry. I think it's one of the biggest rivalries in the world.
And let's not forget, Montreal's the first Canadian hockey city. Boston's the first American hockey city. If you look at the Four Nations tournament that's happening this year during the All-Star break, the two host cities, Montreal and Boston.
Are you going?
I actually am going to watch Canada-Sweden. My cousin got tickets for Canada-Sweden.
I'm going Canada-US.
Oh, dude, lucky. Oh, my God.
Well, lucky. We pay a lot for it.
Yeah, I was about to say, but still. But like, I was about to ask. I'm like, you must have paid in like the hundreds to the thousands about that.
No. We're all the way to the top. I think we paid $200-300.
Oh, okay, you got it early, because some of the scalping right now is ridiculous for those tickets.
That's how I was telling my friend. I was like, guys, we need to buy it now because it's going to keep going on.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, like, so just like for those listening, and even for you, Dave, like, if you ever find somebody who's not a Habs fan, like, I'm not saying, like I said, it's just a fun personal theory. I don't think there's any strong validity in this or whatever. Maybe there's a small little validity to it, but like, just pay attention to who, like, what their ethnicity or culture is, and you'll see that majority of the time, they're not French Canadian. It's just because they kind of
I honestly say that jokingly.
I know you do. I know you are.
There's a story behind everything. It's so funny because, like, again, I connected on social media recently, and you keep sharing Boston. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, no, diehard Bruins fan, dude. Been a diehard fan since I was 4 years old. It's like 96, 97, and it's like I've seen so many downs with the teams, but I've seen so many ups, and I have such.
You've seen more ups than downs.
Yeah. Well, I've seen more heartbreaks than Stanley Cup Finals. Let's not forget. I saw 2013 and I saw 2019, and 2019 was like their final. Like 2013, like, you go up against the greatest Blackhawks team ever, so it's understandable that you lose to them. But 2019, that series, that Stanley Cup Final was given to the Bruins on a silver platter, because your hardest matchups that year for the Bruins were the Capitals and the Lightning. And the Lightning were eliminated in the first round. Remember the year that the Lightning won the President's Trophy, and at that point they set the record for most points in a season, but they got swept by the Blue Jackets, right? So that was that Lightning team that got swept by the Blue Jackets. So that's your toughest, like, divisional rival and team out of the way. Not divisional rival, but like and then it's like oh my God, my brain's shutting down right now.
No, they're not. Are they in the Atlantic?
They are in the Atlantic.
Columbus.
No, but the Lightning.
Oh, yes,
the Lightning are in the Atlantic. I was like, my brain shut down for it. I'm like, yeah, of course they're in the Atlantic. The Panthers are in the Atlantic. So that's your toughest divisional rival out of the way. And the Capitals, which was another tough matchup for the Bruins, got eliminated in 6 games to the Hurricanes that year. So the Bruins' 2 toughest matchups were gone. They just had to make it through Toronto, which they did, and then they swept the Hurricane. So hold on, this round after that, they beat the Blue Jackets in 6 games. And then they swept the Hurricanes in the conference finals. The Hurricanes was the easiest matchup for them, and they swept them in 4 games. That was when Marshy had the famous moment with I think it was Ryan Whitney, where he goes like the C thing on his jersey. He's like, because Whitney really got into Marshy's bait super easily, because that's what Marchand does. Like, he really gets under your skin. He tries to bait you into taking penalties, and he took it hook, line, and sinker. And Marshy's like, "Oh yeah, you're such a captain. You're such a captain." It was hilarious. So he swept them in 4. So then they're going against the Blues, right? And the Blues were a very robust team defensively, very strong on the defensive end and stuff. Like, their backline was phenomenal. Like, their top 6, like their 6 defensemen were essentially top 6. Like, anyone could have been like a 3rd, 4th liner at minimum on any team. So that was your challenge with them. And you had Ryan O'Reilly, that was a really good 2-way forward. But besides that, like, it's a team that you could have, like, this is a final that was handed to you on a silver platter. Your team was firing on all cylinders. You could have easily, like, your third, like, the Bruins' all 3 lines out of 4 were amazing, and they fucked it up in the last game. And like, it's I can't listen to the song Gloria normally anymore. Like, every time someone plays Gloria, I die a little inside. I told my friends, I'm like, I'm gonna tell my future, because they love to do it. They do it on purpose to bug me about playing the song Gloria. I'm like, if I ever get married And I'm telling the DJ 110%, I will slip you $100. Do not ever, under any circumstance, have someone play Gloria at this wedding. And even if my friends come up to you and they beg for Gloria, do not play Gloria.
And for Conor, that's because that's the goal song of.
So when the Blues won the cup that year, their like rally song throughout the whole playoffs was Gloria.
Okay.
So every time they win a game, they're like, play Gloria. And it's like, oh God. And it's just the most annoying thing ever. And when you lose a game 7, it just hurts a little more inside. So yeah. I've seen one Stanley Cup win in my life. At least.
And that was against Vancouver.
2011 against the Canucks, yeah. I went to Boston for the parade that year.
Oh my God.
Phenomenal experience. Phenomenal. I like it's an amazing event, and it felt so cathartic in a way, because it's like the years of suffering of like seeing like missed playoff opportunities to finally see success, but also like throughout the years of seeing these failures in a cup final, you start to understand like what it takes to get to a Stanley Cup final and what it takes to win the Stanley Cup. And it's not just a cliche, it's fact. The Stanley Cup is the hardest trophy to win in all of sports.
Yep.
Not just because of the physicality of the sport and the mental toughness you need, the physical toughness you need to have, but the mental toughness and endurance to get there and what it takes to play each round. Like it's the toughest trophy to win in all sports. It deserves the most respect out of all the sports.
Mm-hmm.
Like none of this NBA bullshit. I'm not shitting on the sport. I'm not shitting on the sport. I'm not saying basketball is a bad sport. I'm not saying that. MLB is even worse. But it's just like what it takes to win a hockey title is so intense, and they deserve more respect for that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you go, listeners. We went to all spectrums of interest here: sports, anime, games, teaching.
Yes.
Well, okay. I'll let you finish with.
So sorry. It took so much time. I apologize.
It's okay. This is your episode. Well, speaking of sports, I'll let you finish off with talk about your own podcast.
Yeah.
The Calcio Guys.
Yes. Calcio Guys is it's a very niche because it's more about the Italian league, so Serie A. So the league that has for the soccer fans out there, the league that has Milan, has Inter, Juventus, those big 3 teams. Then there's other teams that I support like Napoli and Roma. We talk about the Italian league of soccer. It started off because my cousin did journalism at Concordia, and when you do journalism, you had access to the Concordia radio for like an hour a week, and we started just doing basically stuff like this. Like we would just do a weekly episode on the radio of Serie A and stuff, talking about Italian soccer. We would have guests once a week. We'd always have guests come on to speak about maybe 20, 30 minutes, give their like little insight of whatever team they support, if they're a journalist or whatever. And throughout the years, we won one award from the university. Or it was like
award-winning podcast, award-winning radio show turned podcast.
Yeah. We won an award for best new sports program. I think for it's not just the university. I think it was like all the universities in Montreal, whatever.
That's
it was
awesome.
I don't know what my cousin would know the award more specifically, but it was cool. We got a plastic golden record for it and stuff, which was very nice. And then when my cousin graduated, obviously we didn't have access to the radio anymore, to the radio station. So we turned it into a podcast. We're about 250 episodes in. We always try to we try to do it on a weekly basis unless life happens for most of us, because we're all in our late 20s or early 30s. And so we don't have too much time sometimes, but we do our best to do it weekly. We always have guests from different walks of life come on that support different teams from different parts of the world, so that we have a variety, and we try our best to discuss the league as a whole. We don't focus on one team because we felt like there's already a lot of podcasts that just do it on one team, whether it be Milan or whatever. It would be let's do it on not just our teams that we support, but talk about the other teams that are not getting too much of a spotlight in the league, to have an opportunity to say, well, what are they doing? What are they doing that's good? What are they doing that's bad? And there's times where it's you see some of these top Serie A players from smaller teams, quote unquote smaller teams because they're not as popular, go to the Prem or something, or go to La Liga or something, and they succeed over there, or they're doing an amazing job over there and stuff. And people are like, oh, who the hell are these guys or whatever? And it's well, these guys played in Italy beforehand and stuff. And it's nice for us to say oh, this guy's going to be good in the future, or this guy's going to be great. And then we actually see that success pay off in the long run. So we try our best to be relevant. We also 3 guys that are just shooting the shit and having fun with it, like this, we're having fun with it, but we try our best to provide some kind of good insight into it. So I think we do awesome. A decent job.
And how long has that been running?
We started it in
250. How many weeks there's
so don't forget we started in late 2018. We started towards the let's say fall 2018. and we've been doing it ever since.
And does the 250 include the radio episodes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I said, because also don't forget, like it's the league itself is usually about 38 weeks a year.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't think. Okay,
and we would do maybe like bonus episodes here and there. Maybe it was like the Euros or the World Cup or something. We would do maybe a handful of episodes during those runs and whatnot. Depending on how far Italy goes and stuff. But besides that, it's like 250 episodes since 2018. I feel like is in terms of like that kind of podcast. It's a long life. Like a lot of people usually die out around the 50s or around the 30s or the 40s.
That's so sad.
No, but it's because like if you're a one person show, it's hard.
Yeah.
When you have like different people getting involved and stuff or your team, it lasts longer. If you're one person, it's like
okay, in that sense. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it's kind of tough. So the fact that we hit the 250 mark is
yeah. I mean,
great.
there's a statistic somewhere. I forgot the exact number, but like all podcasts die in less than 10 episodes, something like that.
Yeah.
So
it takes a lot of dedication. It
Yeah.
takes a lot of,
Yeah.
and I hope you get to the 250 mark as well with yours.
That means I need to find 250 people.
You could find 250 people. You said you work with 300 people already, 400 people. Like
Sure, we'll see. We'll see. Well, spoilers alert. I would not be at your show because I do not know.
Which is a-okay. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. I watch a little bit of football.
Yeah.
But not enough knowledge and stuff like that. But
I understand. It's not for everyone, which is a-okay. And shout out to Nick and Adri. They are the ones that kind of like really push through and stuff. I'm the one who's very like super busy with life. So there's majority of the time I'm like, I can't make it to this week's episode because of whatever reason I'm not in town or I have this going on or that going on.
I remember I opened one episode just to glance at it and I'm like, oh yeah, it's around 9:30 p.m.
Yeah, we
like,
always.
Oh, it's probably because Gianni just came back from Ottawa.
Yeah. Like sometimes it's like I come back from Ottawa, or maybe sometimes it's because my cousin's girlfriend is in an online course because she's from Brazil, so she'll be learning like Italian or something just to speak with my cousin's family and stuff. So like he can't really be loud or whatever because they live in a small condo until she's done before he can start recording and stuff. So sometimes we start late because of that reason and stuff. And sometimes a lot of our guests are only available around that time too, so it kind of helps.
Again, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Very busy man.
Yes, sorry.
Don't be sorry.
Yeah,
busy is good, as I tell people. All right, so before we close out the show, there's a little something I'll give you. It's a gift that I got made for all my guests for this inaugural season.
Oh, amazing!
Thank you all for being
thank you.
my first wave of guests.
Yeah.
Give it to you like this, and I'll let you react to it when you flip.
So I flip it?
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
3, 2, 1. Oh my god, this is amazing. Holy hell. Oh, I love it.
So do you remember
oh my god, I love this.
Do you remember when I randomly texted you that, Gianni, are you born here, by the way? Like, which city are you or your parents from? Do you remember that?
Yeah. You asked me that, and I kind of
because my artist was asking me about this. Like, oh yeah, because apparently depending on where you come from, like there's a little bit of specific.
Exactly.
I don't know anything, but he was more into it, so I don't know what he did exactly. Basically, I told him, I was like, oh yeah, he hosts a football podcast. He's a Pokémon gym leader, so he added.
I love this. Oh my god! For the listeners, it's basically like me and Dave around the campfire, and you got me like very animated, like angry, like raising my finger up.
That was his idea. I don't know why where that
came
from.
No, it's fine though. I love it because I'm passionate as a person. So this really describes that. The backdrop is a night sky. It's beautiful. I'm wearing a shirt that has the Italy symbol with the 4 stars on it because they won 4 World Cups. Yeah, that's right. We won 4. It was like Pokeballs.
That's what it meant. Okay. Yeah, so kudos to him.
That's a great detail. So I love this. This is phenomenal. Oh my god, great job! But shout out to your buddy who did this design as well. Thank you so much for the gift. Yes,
no problem.
Shout out to them for some wonderful design. I love it.
As I mentioned in our episode, he doesn't want me to reveal who he is right now because he wants to do like a little refresh of his profile.
But still,
I can tell you offline, but just not right now.
Which is okay, but just pass the word to him. Say that I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Nice. All right, I skipped the rapid fire questions because we're running out of time.
Yeah.
So now I'm gonna.
Sorry, I think it's on me.
I think I said this. No, I think we have enough information about you at this point.
Yeah.
No, I still do want to ask this. If we were to write a book about you, what would be its title? Or a
if I was to write a book about me, what would be its title? How to split yourself in 100 different ways, I guess. Because
that's good.
because I have like 1,000,001 hobbies and stuff or interests.
As I said in the beginning, one of the million things he does.
Yeah, so I could write a book about like how to do that as much as you can.
Okay. Again, quickly, favorite Pokemon.
Favorite Pokemon, Scizor.
Scizor?
Yeah, easily Scizor. Starmie's my favorite. This is my second favorite, but Scizor is my first.
Like the evolution of
Scyther? Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Scizor is my favorite Pokemon.
Usually people would say Scyther instead of Scizor.
No. Scizor is cooler, dude. Mega Scizor is one of my favorite Pokemon to use competitively too. So like Scizor has always been my favorite.
Favorite football player / soccer player.
Francesco Totti.
Who's that?
Totti used to play for Roma. Was the king of Rome. As people used to call him. Still call him a god or the king of Rome. Won the World Cup with Italy in 2006, was one of their star players throughout the years during his era, one of the best players in Serie A of all time. Legend. He's a legendary player. If you're like a diehard football fan would know who Francesco Totti is. Like he's not super niche, but casuals might not, because he stayed his entire career in Italy, at Rome specifically. Like he was a lifer at Roma, like because he was born in that city and he played for that city his whole life and stuff. So Totti's my favorite player of all time.
Okay. All right. Any plugs you want to do? I'll let you do some shout-outs.
The Montreal Pokemon League, since we brought that up. Shout out to the Montreal Pokemon League. Thank you so much for letting me be a gym leader. If you're interested in Pokemon, like I said, we have a Discord server. We have a website. You can just Google Montreal Pokemon League. You'll be able to find us in our Discord server. Please join. Please come and do our challenges. We always love new faces. And like I said, you don't have to play competitive Pokemon to really be involved. We have a lot of rental teams that you can borrow, or switches at our in-person events that you can borrow to challenge for our badges. So you have that. And shout out, since we brought it up, the Calcio Guys, the podcast that I do. If you're ever interested in Italian soccer, or you just love soccer in general, give us a follow on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or all.
Calcio is CALCIO. Right.
Yeah, the Calcio, so CALCIO Guys. You can find us on all your podcast platforms, whatever you may use, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever it may be. You can find us everywhere. Apple Podcasts, sorry. You can find us everywhere on that. I'm usually not the one that's doing this plug. Our co-host Adriano does that. We do that a lot. Shout out to you, Dave. Thank you so much for having me on. I love this. This was a lot of fun. This is great. I never had a chance to do this kind of stuff, so it's cool.
That's one point of doing this is me giving the chance people to do this, and so far, either on air or off, they would tell me like, this is really fun, bring me back. But I'm like, well, you already told me life story. I got nothing anymore. You can't come back anymore.
Fair enough.
We'll see. Nah, you got a lot of stuff to talk about. We'll have you back on at some point.
Yeah, definitely. I would love. I'll be honored, and I would love to come back on if you ever have me on again.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else?
No, that's it, really. Thank you very much.
And that's it for this episode of Tales to Tell. This is our inaugural NRSA pilot season for the show. If you like this podcast and would like to help keep the mics on, please consider following, subscribing to this show on your favorite podcast platform, and sharing with friends and family. Your support is greatly appreciated. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. And of course, if you have any feedback to help make the show better, please leave them in the comments section or reach out to us via social channels. Mainly, you can follow at tells2tell.podcast on Instagram to get updates and behind the scenes of this show. If you want to follow my personal adventures, find me at davidliu.17. Well, you can also find our linktree /tells2tell, which you get the links for everything I just mentioned above. As always, I hope you all stay safe and always be kind to each other. I'm your host, David Liu, and I will see you next time.
Amazing.
Yay.